Can you hear me?
What it do, snackers and snackettes?
Sure.
It's your boy Gage, Sin and Coop in the building.
Yes, sir.
We are here to discuss our thoughts on episode 4 of Cloak and Dagger, episode entitled Call Response. Gentlemen, let's just jump right into it. Coop, I'm going to let you start. Where are you on this episode?
I really like it. This was probably the best episode for me so far.
Okay.
It was what I wanted to see. I saw a lot of unexpected things too, so it made me think that yeah, this show's going in the right direction.
Such as what?
Uh, the direction of well, I always thought like was the show gonna have like a main villain, or was it gonna be like dealing with their personal issues? But to see them interact with each other and to see their differences and their similarities and see how everything is unfolding, I just like how it's going so far.
Okay. What about you, Sin?
Uh, I kind of agree. Like I did like I said, like one thing I wanted to see, going forward was them finally connect. You know what I mean, and start their dialogue between each other. Besides talking and running away and yada yada, which we got a lot of, in this episode, which I liked the church scenes. I thought outside of the church sequence when they're talking, I thought it was confusing and it was throwing me off a little bit. Like between them having those conversations and then it just goes into what something that was going on with her or something that was going on with him, and then it would come back. Like it was, I don't know. I don't know. I thought like whoever thought of that like was just, I don't know. It didn't. I don't say it didn't make sense. Just it felt off. Like it was tough to follow for a little bit. Uh, but other than that, like I'm still engaged and want to know what's gonna happen forward. I would say, as far as this episode's going, the ending of the episode, I wasn't as happy with. I would say,
The ending of the episode?
yeah, what I wasn't as happy.
Why?
Like
Why?
they've been doing the thing of going like back and forth, like showing her and showing him. Like that's been like the theme through the whole thing. And then at the end of the episode, we see her try to kill herself after their, fight or whatever. She goes to kill herself, and he's supposed to be kind of going doing the same thing, like going to, I'm gonna go, face this dude in the police station, yada yada. But we see what happens with her, but his cuts off before the next episode. I wanted to see that before that happens. Now, if that's going to tie into something bigger going forward, which I don't know until next episode, I'm fine with. But as of right now, it's just I'm with the way they've been going so far. I'm kind of like it threw me off a little bit. Like I wanted to have the same closure with her story of that episode as with his story of that episode as we did hers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I think I'm gonna disagree with you as far as how I felt about the end of the episode. I think that this episode, I think where we're left with her is that he's seemed to have had more control. We've actually witnessed him, I feel like, use his powers more often, experiment with his powers more often within the preceding episodes. We haven't really seen that with her. I mean, we've seen, the like one accidental thing, and then we see when she's near him. But other than that, we haven't really seen her take control or actually use her powers with purpose, right? So her attempting to kill herself, coming back up from the water, which to a certain extent, I think is representative of her attempting to drown herself, which is the way that she would have died right in the beginning. So it kind of harkens back to that. and then her powers kind of manifesting themselves and saving her at that point as well, I think speaks to that same thing. So then when we see her go back into Greg's office and call up her powers on purpose and use her daggers to cut the wall open, I think closure, but it's the first time we're really getting to see her actual understanding of her powers and what they can do and what she can do with them, where we've gotten to see that a little bit more with him than we have with her. And so I think hers leaves you with just as much of a cliffhanger in terms of her going and finding these files, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen with those next. He walks into the police station for the officer, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen with that next. So I don't necessarily think that his cliffhanger was any worse than hers, in my opinion. But I do think in terms of the way, like as far as what you were talking about, in terms of the way the show and the kind of the back and forth, the only thing that really felt, I'm going to say, kind of confusing, it wasn't really confusing. It was just that it was harder to know for sure whether or not certain things that were happening in church in what space of the timeline they were happening. That's the thing. Like, right. So
you're right. That's what, honestly, that's what I meant by confusing, like stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly did. It was kind of like, okay, they're clearly having this conversation. And it seems to me that they're having this conversation all right. And things that they're talking about within this conversation appear to be relevant to other things that are happening. But it seems to me that they would have had this conversation, and then all of the other things that happened in the episode happened after that conversation, which makes the conversation make less sense in terms of, oh, to hell, go ahead and kill yourself. And then her going ahead and trying to kill herself. Seems like something that would have maybe taken place after she saw Greg get killed, after the whole thing with her hearing her mother, you know what I mean? So her attempting to kill herself off, over the side of the bridge, that kind of stuff. So there's definitely something with the timeline there. Go ahead.
Yeah, and even when she pretty much told him to go into the police station, while they were in the church. Yeah. And then, just like you said, right after that, you have the scene, not right after, but then you have the scene of him telling her to go to hell, go kill yourself. So it was like, was this like a constant, it almost seemed like it was a constant meetup, but it wasn't. It was the same scene,
It seemed like it. Like, it makes it seem as if they maybe were meeting multiple times over the course of a couple days, right? Because all of the stuff that was happening with him and his father, which I want to get to in a second, because I really enjoyed his father finally kind of stepping up and being present.
Yeah.
Again, her saying, hey, you just need to learn how to lie. You need to go in there and make up a story or whatever. And you kind of get these scenes of him putting his bike up, cutting the chain from his bike, making the whole story up, going to the police station, and then kind of getting scared and leaving the police station. So it seems like that's something that they would have had that discussion. He went and tried it and then went back, but you would feel like they would discuss it. Hey, I tried it. I went to the police station, but I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Right. And his father, that all seems like something that would have taken place after their conversation. So again, I do kind of agree with where you are as far as where timeline wise and so forth. Now, the father. I mean, I have to enjoy.
We had our concerns about him starting off.
We did. And Tyrone has been getting a little beside himself.
He
as a teenager.
He bucked pretty hard.
a couple times.
Like, really?
At both of his parents at one point. Like, I'm not having breakfast.
Right.
I'm late for stuff. I gotta go do stuff.
I thought, like, because of our discussion, I thought Mobs was gonna be the one to check him, but it turned out being Pops.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Okay, bravo, Pops.
And,
you know,
found the bolt cutters, and he was like, "Yo, mind your business." And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, as a father, I was like, "Hold on a second." Like,
and look, I'm not a father, but I have godkids, and I have yelled at them enough to completely understand where y'all are coming from.
Like, you as a son know enough to know.
Yeah,
man, you better not.
The second he said that, I was like, really? If that was
hey,
me,
listen, I'm gonna tell you what. The only thing about that scene that was fake to me was the father's response. Because for real, around these parts, you got yanked up. You getting yanked up right there. Ain't gonna be no, come on, let's go right now. Nah, dog. We about to go right here in this kitchen right now. Let me help reestablish your place for you.
You think you grown? Okay.
Right. Yeah. But here's the thing about why it was important to me. So father and him kind of seeming more like an afterthought, him being second to the mother and so forth. And I think that the show in particular is definitely reaching for some racially charged commentary in terms of,
it is,
again, switching their living situations in terms of the demographic. Him being quote unquote more well off, and they definitely touched on that, like him being well off and her saying, oh, you got the nice house in the nice neighborhood, go to the nice school, and him being like, let's talk about your privilege for.
Yep.
So
walk outside
all of that,
like me. Real stuff.
All of that happening, I think, is important. But I think another piece of that commentary was important that had been missing was the absentness of the black father in the child's life, right? Which shouldn't technically be a thing in his situation, but seemed like it was, right? Because he just kind of wasn't. He just seemed to not be present. And so now I think particular episode, it gives maybe some more context to why it feels to me like, okay, look, I was a member of this 9th Ward.
I was in that life,
quote unquote gang, right?
Yeah.
I introduced your to that thing. Your brother was working on being one of those spies for us, kind of a thing. His father bonded with him over it, but it's clearly a thing that mom is not happy about. And it's clearly a thing that maybe mom probably had that conversation with dad about, maybe even blamed him to a certain extent for where, the older brother ended up, or something along those lines. And so the fact now that fathers sort of have this secret, like, hey, what are y'all laughing about? Oh, nothing. I made breakfast.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can see
like
is going to be a point of contention.
I did like the fact that his quote unquote cloak, like he got from that experience. You know what I mean? And it turned out to be his cloak, and he wants to put the bees on it and finish the cloak and all that kind of stuff. Like I did like that tie-in. Like, okay, that's how he gets his quote unquote costume. You know what I mean? Like I did like that.
Sure.
Yeah. So continue.
Yeah. It also definitely leaves a little something open for the conversation of his father stepping away from, being away for so long, not being around for a long time. Is probably tied into him trying to help protect Tyrone from that life, from that lifestyle, from being around people who might, he might walk that path for some reason or another. And so again, it gives some context for why his father may have been less involved, but now it's kind of like, okay, look, you're growing up into a young man, like I need to kind of show you what this is and maybe explain to you where this fear comes from or what it's really like out here. So I'm gonna take you. You better not say a word. Don't talk to anybody.
I like
don't say anything.
I like the New Orleans backdrop too.
Yeah,
sure.
I like the New Orleans backdrop for them. Yeah,
for sure. Like some old Seventh Ward, soft boys. You know, like I dug that. What do you think, Coop?
Yeah, I think at first I was trying to see where it was going, you know, because he did the whole come with me thing, and then he got there, and he took it. And I wasn't upset that it like took a while, but I was just like, all right, so where is this headed? Like, what is he trying to say, you know? But then we got the aspect of it, and when he found the cloak, and then as soon as I saw Dad go off, I was thinking like, okay, that had to be like Big Brother's cloak, But then, to see him be like, you're like, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, that's just going to make him want to do it even more. You know what I'm saying? The fact that it was his, So I do like that aspect of it. What I wanted to, I asked Lo this about, I'll ask you. That kill scene, that assassin. Did you see that coming?
Okay, so sort of, because this is the thing. It seemed to be getting a little too good to be true, right? And I actually kind of like that. It actually helps to define her powers a little bit, right? Her ability to see what people's hopes and dreams are, right? So her being able to touch him, recognizing that as an ability of hers, being able to touch him and say, you know what, this dude might be the real deal. I did
like that. I did like that.
Kind of touching on the fact that his ability is fears and her ability is more to see people's hopes. And the fact that he turned out to be kind of a good dude, kind of really doing the right thing. I will tell you that I didn't see it till right before it happened. Because as soon as she got there and it was nighttime and he was in the office by himself, and I'm like, who gets water delivered at like, it's dark outside. Like, who's delivering water right now? You know what I mean? So immediately I was like, something's not right. So yeah. There I was like, oh yeah, he's not gonna make it. I don't think I was expecting him to get shot in the head. Like I was expecting something to happen and maybe Tandy to have to go in and save him or do something like that. I don't know that I was expecting to get shot in the face. I shouldn't laugh, but blood splatter's a real thing. Yeah, it was very interesting and kind of sloppily done in terms of like.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what Sin told me.
That was one of the most worst assassination scenes / cover-ups I've ever seen in my entire life. Like
here's why I'm gonna tell you. I watch a lot of movies and TV shows. Yes. I'm pretty well versed in televised cinematic assassinations.
Yeah.
One, you don't do it on a public street with wide open windows
for anybody to see. That's number one.
An assassin.
That was the biggest window ever.
The one thing that I will say probably gave it, going to sound wrong. Let me rephrase this. The thing that made it seem less likely probably than anything else was the fact that there was a woman doing the delivery, which just what you're used to seeing is not generally a woman being the assassin doing the cover up, what have you. So I think for most people watching, it probably didn't look like anything was going to happen, and it probably was more shocking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Made it seem for him, again, it's just the water delivery lady. You can put the water right there. And then when I saw her reaching, I was thinking, oh, you're not even going to close the windows? As a matter of fact, she shot at him with the gun towards the window.
Yes.
Which, listen,
Yes.
maybe it was a 22. It's not going to exit the brain, go through and hit the, maybe you could know that as an assassin. I'm just.
It's very true. But I put like this. I was there with you when that happened. Like, the second I saw it, I was like, oh, he cheating on her. But the second I saw it was the one delivery girl, I was like, he done. He about to get murked right there in front of him. Now, I didn't expect the way it panned out to happen. Like, oh, okay, it's on South Street, Philly. just,
basically,
yeah, the biggest window storefront ever. Blood splatter.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to pour gasoline in the corner on this random table. You don't even search the place. You are the worst hitman / recovery artist ever at this point. Like, just so bad. I was laughing when that happened. It was just so bad. Like, oh my gosh, really? Like,
yeah, definitely. Not a highlight, but an important moment in terms of what just in terms of important moment in terms of what was going on in the show for sure, because it just adds another wrinkle. And now the idea where what happened, having witnessed what happened, and knowing that her mom is now trying to make amends, and he's not responding to her calls, and she knows why.
Yeah.
So how that's all going to play out as far as her having to explain that, or if she does have to explain it or whatever. But her being aware of where those files were was a little odd to me. But yeah, you're right. Whoever this lady was, whose job it was to burn the office down,
she sucks. She sucks.
She dumped a very small amount of kerosene.
She needs to be fired / killed the next episode.
She's not gonna make it. I'm gonna tell you right now, she's getting a light dagger.
Oh yeah,
she's getting a light dagger.
Yeah. To go back to what you said earlier, where you were talking about how she touched the lawyer boyfriend to see what he was all about. I saw it was. I was like, oh, okay. He's got a good mind on his head. But then I was like, wait, we got to see what happens when Cloak touches him, which I thought where it was going to go at one point. Because I was thinking like, then we see the good part of it, but what's the bad side of it? And I thought that was going to happen or some way.
I actually haven't thought about that, and I like that, Coop. Seeing both of them touch the same person.
Yeah.
See the good and the bad of each side of it. I actually like that aspect that I would like to see happen at some point in the show.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I think it's interesting that because their powers do completely seem to work opposite one another, right? She's light, he's dark, he's fierce, she's hopes. They can't. It's weird that they can somehow mentally get connected to each other to see each other's hopes and fears, but can't physically touch each other in order to see each other's hopes and fears, right? It's almost like having opposite magnets. You get two magnets together and they repel each other.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it would be the same side magnets would repel each other. Opposites attract to each other. But you know what I'm trying to say. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they kiss and make up, because I'm expecting that.
True. Mm-hmm.
She threw a bone in my man's eyes, like, with some eyes like that, you gotta have you a little girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? My man got the little blush on real quick, like, I might have somebody, but she might not really be that important, even though she just gave me the green light. So I think that's interesting. I also am interested in seeing how long it takes for technically the things that were happening in the last episode come back around. So as far as the the voodoo dolls and the when we're gonna see that kind of rear itself again. Is that next episode? Is it gonna be a couple more episodes in? I mean, the season isn't gonna be but so long, so things again are heating up. Yeah, they don't have but so many episodes left to kind of get us to a point where we're happy. And I will be honest with you, I'm starting to feel like they're going to struggle to bring this to a close in a satisfying way by the end of this season. And that we're going to get stuck with a cliffhanger that I won't be satisfied with. But having said that, my overall opinion of this episode, I really liked it. I would give this episode high marks. I would agree with the two of you in terms of like, I think this is the best episode so far. And again, I think we were right last week in saying that it just looks like we're getting, the things that we're really waiting for, the more in-depth kind of like information about how their powers and abilities work, how they work together with one another, information about, the church and what the church actually means, and it being kind of a symbol of hope for her, those things are, I think, important. I also think, interestingly enough, I hadn't, I guess, really thought about it until this episode, but he must be at least a good, I'm gonna say 3 years younger than her or so, right? Like, I don't know where in high school he is, but he doesn't seem to be more than like a sophomore or junior. He doesn't seem like a senior to me, 16, 17, but she doesn't appear to be a dropout to me. She appears, and maybe she didn't complete it, but clearly she doesn't go to school, and that's not a thing that she doesn't go to school. Right. So it just, I hadn't really thought about the difference in age. Like, I think starting out, even though the kind of stuff that she was doing certainly seemed more adult than what he was doing, it's kind of the first time I think I really put it together. Like, okay, she seems to not only be older, but have more experience. Like, I thought when she said something to him about, it's like sex, I thought he's gonna be like, I don't know nothing about that. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Expecting. So he didn't admit that, but I'm pretty sure that's where he is. Unless that green light was a little more than the green light I thought it was, and we just didn't get to see it.
Unless that rosemary bath counts as sex.
I don't think that's how that works. But I know I'm just, I'm as, for a young man of his age to be in a bathroom with a young lady of the persuasion he was with, and for her to be like, yeah, take all them clothes off. And he looked at her like,
really? I gotta take
not in front of you though. And she was like, all right, I'll turn around. You know what I mean? Like, for her, seemed like she's got some experience, and for him, it's kind of like
she was ready.
No doubt, she wasn't.
She wanted to see that thing.
Yeah, he didn't know her. So for me, that means that he's not, quite as experienced, and obviously Tandy is, because we saw that in the first episode. But I think it adds a little bit of a more interesting dynamic in terms of what it could be going forward, the difference in their ages and where that puts them, and how that plays out. We haven't really seen him do anything with school, this episode at all, other than leaving in the morning, like that's where he was going.
Right.
When he did the whole bike thing.
Just
right.
Yeah. I love me watching you.
Right. Right. Right.
Like, you need to chill out before I smack the hot top off your head, for real.
If Pops was serious with him, like, it's only two things you could do with those clippers, bruh. And I know what they are.
Yeah.
So you coming with me right now.
And then look, I got something to do.
When he went to grab the bag, And he tried to snatch the bag back from Slim. Let me tell you how much of a yoke. Ain't over nobody's bag. You giving the bag up.
That's what, boy, you lucky we on freeform.
Yeah.
we lucky
yeah. Not even joking.
Oh, you lucky we on freeform. Come walk with me right now.
Ooh, boy. Yeah. It was like being out in public and doing something like that. Boy.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh, if all these people with this 911 wasn't so close to me. Yeah. Final thoughts, guys. Anything else you guys want to say? What are your expectations going forward into the next episode? What are we thinking, Coop?
It looks like the next episode is like kind of like their first mission together, I guess you can say.
Okay.
In some way, shape, or form. I didn't want to think too much of it, and try to predict the next episode or how they would do things.
Right.
But
but
based
that's
off
what
of
I'm
this,
asking you to do. I want you to predict the next episode. What do you think?
I like you said, I want to know how the kiss and makeup thing happens. When is the point where they're just like, all right, like we know who we are, we know how this is, like, it's no longer I'm walking away from the situation, you're walking away from the situation, like, I just want to know. It'd probably be like the last episode, but when will they just be like really compatible with each other and okay with everything that is happening? Pretty much.
Okay.
I'm just excited for it. Next episode is episode 5. We got an
That's what the halfway point, right?
Yeah. So we got our assassination. So I can only imagine, it gets bigger and better from here. So
I'm with that. Sin, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking next episode they are going to reconcile their differences.
Yeah.
They had some heavy hitting blows they threw at each other in the last episode. You know what I mean? But they're gonna reconcile and understand that we can't do that. We gotta be on the same page to go forward to figure out what happened with my father and for you to get, vengeance for what happened to your brother. They're gonna have that come together reconciliation next episode. That's what I think was gonna happen, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look, I'm thinking I'm gonna jump out there and say I'm expecting next episode to be the first episode where he teleports someone else. And I think it'll be her.
Okay.
I don't know if he's gonna go to her first and get her out of something, you know what I mean, or something like that. But now that he's got quote unquote the cloak, I expect to see it get used in some manner.
Yeah.
And I think that may become their, like, this is how our powers can work to get, like, I can teleport you in and out of places, that kind of thing. Like, I think that's one of the things that hasn't happened that remains to happen is not just him teleporting himself. He's already explained it to her and told her what he can do or kind of how it's happened.
Right.
And I'm waiting to see if that is something that comes together based on clearly that's the way he saved her the first time when they were kids. Like, he teleported, reached in and pulled her through to safety. And if that's what it's going to be, but that's what I'm expecting. I think to be at the halfway point through the season, now it's time to really start getting into that kind of stuff. Even if he doesn't know exactly how he can do it or whatever, they seem to be getting a better grasp on their abilities. And I think that's where we're going next episode. So, any other thoughts? Can we wrap this up?
I think
I'm good.
Sin's good.
Yeah, I think we can.
I'm good. Awesome. So thank you to everyone who is tuning in and who has been tuning in and dropping comments and so forth. It is greatly appreciated. All of what you have to say is certainly being taken to heart. Again, doing something like this, an episode by episode review, is something that's new for us that we're trying out. And so we're kind of learning as we go along. and looking specifically for you guys' feedback and things that we can do differently, ways that we can make adjustments and so forth. So thank you for the feedback that we've gotten, so forth. Greatly appreciated. Please continue to do so. Drop us comments. Make sure you hit that ding-a-ling bell so that every time these episodes go live every Monday at 7, you don't have to worry about, whether or not you're thinking about it. You'll get that notification when it
right there
hits.
for you. Yep.
Yeah, so you can stay on top of that. And outside of that, hit the subscribe button. If you like what we're doing, hit the thumbs up, and make sure you're checking out the rest of our content. We certainly have a lot of content that is hitting and has been hitting over the last few days from All-Star Comic-Con. So a lot of great interviews, some snack bites still to come from that. Loading Snacks Weekly, we did a little bit differently, so keep your eyes open for that. That's every Monday at 10 a.m. 10:30 a.m. So please continue to do that. Make sure you're following us across all the socials. We're at Loading Snacks, Instagram, Facebook. You know the drill. You'll find us. So for myself, I am Gage, also known as MT Shells across the socials, MTSHELLZ. For Sincere 619 across the socials, and for Coop at Coop's Concessions across the socials. We'd like to thank you and say we're out. Toodles and lose.